Hello, and welcome to Steph Udall. I am, ultimately, Steph. As you can see, Ren and Naira are here with me today, and that's because it's time for another Divus Collab. In case you missed my other two videos, let me tell you what this is all about. Divus is a stop-motion animated series made by Nullmotion, aka Natalie, here on YouTube. The story takes place in a world with animal characters. Humans are mythical creatures there, in fact, which is very funny. And there's a great mix of comedy, tragedy, mystery, and fantastical elements. I don't want to spoil anything, so I'm not going to tell you too much about it, but I highly recommend giving it a watch and a sub. Links will be down below in the description. For the collab, the rules are simply to make a doll that could exist in the Divus universe. One of the main rules is that characters develop more animal-like features as they get older. Both Ren and Naira are relatively young characters, so I wanted to try making a slightly older character this time. With that in mind, let's get started. I knew from the start that I wanted to make a smaller character in stature, so I'll be using a Monster High Twyla as she has the little sister body type. I used my hairdryer to heat up the vinyl and make the head easier to remove. I also cut down the neck peg to make it easier to put back on later. Then it's the usual cleanup process, cutting the hair off close to the scalp, scraping the inside of the head with a screwdriver, and then removing the remaining hair and glue with tweezers through the neck opening. I remove her factory face with pure acetone, and then use an alcohol wipe to remove any acetone residue. Before I can do more work on the head, I need to prep and paint the body. I start by sanding it to rough up the surface, and give it a couple of coats of gray gesso to prime it, sanding between layers. She's going to be gray, so it serves as a good base. Then I moved on to acrylic paint. When I first started this project, she was originally going to be a 40-something art teacher chinchilla, but sometime during painting, when I took a break to finish up my Trixie doll, I changed my mind entirely because I just wasn't feeling it, and I wouldn't have been able to complete the outfit I wanted to make for her in time. So I did a few sketches, and I came up with a miniature lot bunny in her late 20s. Once the paint had been left to dry completely over several days, I gave the body a couple of coats of Liquitex matte varnish, waiting 3 hours between coats. Before reattaching the head, I need to remove her ears and cut out a piece of her upper lip. Since she's going to have facial modifications, I decided to slice open the back of her head and partially fill it with hot glue, which makes the vinyl retain its shape instead of being squishy. That'll help keep the clay from breaking off later. Once the head is back on the body, I glued the opening in her head shut. Then I wrapped her up to protect her body. I mixed a small batch of Apoxie Sculpt, which is a 2-part epoxy clay, and I began sculpting. I used silicone tools and a pin to help me get the shapes right, and water to smooth the surface of the clay as much as possible. I want to try and make the transition from vinyl to clay appear almost seamless. I also used clay to smooth out the areas where her ears used to be since I cut a bit too deep on one side. Once I'm happy with it, I let everything cure overnight. The clay looked pretty smooth already, but I decided to wet sand it anyway just in case. I used another alcohol wipe to clean up the surface and remove any particles before I started painting. After quite a few thin layers of paint, I give the head a coat of matte varnish, followed by a couple of layers of Mr. Super Clear UV cut flat, waiting 30 minutes between each layer. I followed the eye molding pretty closely this time, mapping out the eye shape and filling in the squares with watercolor pencils. The painted surface still looked a bit grainy, so I attempted to smooth the color out with chalk pastels over the course of several layers. When I can't build any more color, or I want to save my progress, I give her another spray of MSC. While I'm working on the face up, let's go ahead and answer the last couple of questions from my community tab. Tweety12457 asks, if you could collaborate with any company or brand, what would it be? And what do you like to do for fun? There's like a lot of people I'd like to collaborate with, but as for companies and brands, Culture Hustle is the first one that comes to mind for me, as I really love their products. They're the ones who make Black 3.0 and the mirror paint, which we do have in my house, and I will be using on an accessory for future customs, so stay tuned for that. Also the glow in the dark stuff that I've used before, it's fun. But yeah, I can't really think of anything else. Like other art supply brands would be fun to try. It's been really cold and wet here, which can cause MSC to not work as well. You can see here that my pencils are actually scraping away the color in the pupil, so on the next layer, I switched over to picking up the pigment from my pencils with a brush, and that worked a lot better. I always end up doing that later on in the face-up anyway. It helps give me more sharp, defined lines. For fun, lately I've been playing video games. I'm right in the middle of Pokemon Shining Pearl right now, which is kind of fun because like I haven't played any of the older Pokemon games. I only got into actually playing Pokemon, like the mainline games with Shield. Yeah, so I've been playing Pearl and I've been really enjoying it. It's been a lot of fun. And I do want to play Pokemon Legends Arceus sometime soon because I know everybody is loving that one. And I love the idea of a historical Pokemon game. But I wanted to play Pearl first because it came out before. So that's what I'm doing. The day of recording this voiceover is the day they announced Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, which is pretty cool. The starters all look adorable, but I'm definitely leaning towards Sprigatito because Grass Kitty. How can you not love a Grass Kitty? After some sparkle and some eye shines, the face-up is done. I painted her scalp black off camera, but before gluing on her hair, I need to make her ears. Since she's a lop, I decided to make her ears out of felt, which is something I wanted to do for a long time, although my original idea was to make a goat girl with felt ears, but this is a trial run, and I like how it turned out, so I'm probably going to do it again. First, I made a paper pattern to try and figure out what size to make them, and then I cut them out from gray felt. I used my chalk pastels to add some color to the inside of the ears, as well as lightening the tips of the ears on the outside. In the past, I've used my hair straightener to set chalk pastel and yarn wefts to change the color of the yarn I was using, so I figured it couldn't hurt to try it here with the ears. The felt did get a bit stretched out, so I trimmed them down first before folding and sewing the tops of the ears. Then I used hot glue to attach them to the head. Now I can start gluing on the hair wefts. I made them out of black acrylic yarn off camera. I started at the nape of the neck and worked my way up and around, trimming the length as I went. Once I get to the part, I first glue on a weft going in the opposite direction, and then glue another weft on top. Once dry, I can flip the first weft over and tape it down for now. Then I do the same on the other side, forming the part. Afterwards, I wrap her in cling film and leave her overnight, which should force the yarn fibers to lay a little more flat to the head. I'll give her a final trim and style off camera. I'll be using Twyla's base shoes, but they need to be a different color to go with the outfit I have in mind. So I paint the uppers fuchsia and the laces yellow. Then I gave them a couple of coats of matte ModPodge to seal them in. And here are the shoes all done. I made this dress by modifying Delightful's standard dress pattern to fit the little sister body. I made a pom-pom out of brushed out yarn and sewed it to the back to act as her tail. I made this jumper using Delightful's shirt and jeans pattern. The design was actually printed on a baby onesie I got from a charity shop ages ago, and it fit the pattern perfectly. I also made this tiny bow for her hair to match the dress. And here's our bunny girl! All that's left to do is to get her dressed, and she's done! The name Lulu came to my mind somehow at some point, and it stuck. So I've called her Lulu Adrian. The Adrian is from Adrian de Kock. I apologize if I didn't pronounce that correctly, profusely. He was a Dutch rabbit breeder who is credited for developing the miniature lop, which is also known as the Holland lop, by crossbreeding French lops and Netherland dwarf rabbits. So that's your fun fact of the day. Thanks, Wikipedia. Although not the project I originally intended to make, I think Lulu is super cute and I really like her. And sculpting her face was like a new challenge, but it was a lot of fun. What do you think of Lulu? And what kind of animal would you be in the Divus universe? Let me know in the comments down below. I would probably be a cat because I'm basic, or a bat, because I love bats. This is sadly the last Divus collab, which is totally understandable, as collabs take a lot of work to organize, especially on this scale. So I feel very lucky to have had the opportunity to take part in all 3 of the Divus collabs. Natalie is honestly one of my favorite creators here on YouTube, and is one of the people that inspired me to finally start customizing dolls after years of only thinking about doing it. So thank you, Natalie. I honestly cannot wait to see where the series goes in the future, and what you do beyond that as well. As always, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you'd like to see more from me, and click the bell icon to get notified every time I post a new video. Links to my Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok are down in the description, and if you like my work and my videos and you'd like to buy me a coffee, my Ko-fi link is down there too. And until next time, bye!